cases have recently occurred in Raccoon City. There are outlandish reports of families being attacked by a group of about 10 people. Victims were apparently eaten.
Of Resident Evil in 1996, many gamers got their first real taste of horror. While it wasn't the foundation of the genre, it was the first game to gain large enough recognition to push survival horror into the limelight and spawn dozens of other similar productions. In 2002, as part of a 3-game deal with Nintendo, Capcom released the remake of their original introduction to the T-Virus and the dark dealings of the Umbrella Corporation. The remake would not only surpass to make the original version completely obsolete, but it would manage to become the best effort of its kind to date. The second visit to the Arklay Mountains Spencer estate would become an unprecedented achievement in paying homage to the original source, while improving virtually every aspect and expanding the story of the entire series. As with the original, the nightmare begins with the STARS Alpha team investigating the disappearance of Bravo team, who was tasked to discover the origins of various reports of cannibalism and missing persons in the outskirts of Raccoon City. After finding the abandoned helicopter of Bravo team, they're besieged by a pack of coagulated canines that force the survivors of the attack into a large residence for safety. They quickly realize that their sanctuary will soon become their hell, as their new mission is to escape the premises of the estate and discover its dark secrets, as they're pulled farther and farther into the foreboding halls. The direct plot of the remake is almost as campy as the original.
Ah! Jill.
Barry, I didn't mean to get you that excited.
Right. Anyway, you should read this.
The characters regularly make light of the situation with awkward jokes and puns and have a tendency to forgo all of their elite training as a special forces team and split up whenever the first opportunity presents itself. Its beauty, however, is in its simplicity. While the cheesy writing is classic Resident Evil, the main thrust of the story is to survive, which is far more appropriate for a horror game than stopping international terrorist cells. The stronger aspect of the story, as with all classic Resident Evil titles, is the background events that are fleshed out through various files and visual cues throughout the mansion. Reading over the last few days of a person's life and then seeing their body and belongings afterwards is as haunting as it was in 1996, and provides weight to the proceedings that the central story can't, a charm for the series that has been long forgotten in recent entries. Unlike the series today, the characters you play as aren't superheroes. Each enemy takes a random amount of ammo to kill, and just a couple bites can lead to their grisly demise. You can play as either Jill or Chris, with slight alterations in the plot, along with characters you meet and gameplay. Regardless of whom you play as, though, the real central character of the game is the mansion itself. Every room and hallway drips atmosphere and history. Most of the rooms are instantly recognizable, and any fan of the series will instantly know what someone is talking about when you mention random things like piano room, dog hallway, painting gallery, or dining room. This can't really be done the same way for newer entries of the horror genre, as games today push you through the content like a Black Friday store opening. By the time you leave the mansion, you'll have an attachment and familiarity with it. When the remake was released in 2002, it looked years ahead of its time, creating a breathtaking visual experience with its beautifully pre-rendered backdrops and high-detailed character models. An HD conversion of Resident Evil would still graphically hold up today, with its ominous shadows, aging fixtures, flickering lights, and insidious camera angles. The controls are going to be the dividing factor in almost any classic Resident Evil title. It tends to boil down whether or not you played the PlayStation 1 era Resident Evil titles when they were originally released or not. If you grew up with the tank-style controls, you'll probably be comfortable enough with them to seamlessly navigate every zombie-laden hall of the mansion, juking past the shambling undead when appropriate to conserve precious ammunition. If you're unfamiliar with the fixed camera views and appropriate movement, you're going to add a large layer of frustration onto an already exceedingly difficult game. Even on the normal difficulty mountain climbing, this game can put titles like Dark Souls to shame in overall difficulty. While the combat isn't necessarily hard, There's an element of planning and intelligence behind every action you do that can see your progression through the game to a standstill if ill-prepared. Every bullet and healing item counts, and you'll quickly regret it if you decide to play this like more contemporary titles of the series. Possibly the largest challenge of making a remake to a widely popular survival horror game would be keeping the element of the unknown that made the original so effective. This game handles that obstacle brilliantly. If you're a veteran of the original, upon playing this, you're going to be in for more than just a few new surprises. Your expectations will constantly be toyed with, and anticipation prolonged as Shinji Mikami knew that the players would expect to go into this as masters of the mansion, and insusceptible to any new fear. For example, most veterans will expect a surprise when going down the yellow wallpapered L-shaped hallway on the east side of the mansion, but all you might get is a window crack your first time through, or perhaps a growling noise. Each time you pass, you don't know when or if something will ever happen at all, and you'll constantly have a feeling of unease whenever approaching an area like this. These false expectations and how the game brilliantly plays with them always manage to keep you on your feet, and make frequent backtracking a potentially dangerous affair. In addition to this, first-time players were surprised when zombies didn't necessarily stay dead, and the corpses that littered the halls could become problematic if not dealt with appropriately. The soundtrack is deeply atmospheric, and provides a thick layer of sinister ambiance with its mostly redone versions of the original themes, with several new ones thrown in for good measure. Every creak, groan, or summer night sound will cause you to pause and assess your surroundings to the best the camera will allow, as you cautiously sojourn on. There are many new areas to explore to the already much larger estate, and a new indestructible enemy that adds an essential layer to the foundation of the entire Resident Evil franchise. The puzzles, while not particularly difficult, are all redone for the remake, and feel appropriately macabre and satisfying. Depending on how you play, most will be able to finish the game in the 8 to 13 hour range. The events are paced well, as the challenge and fright factor scale along with your character, creating a game that stays difficult and tense until the very end. After surviving the mansion, you'll be rewarded with one of a few slightly different endings, and extra difficulty modes that encourage additional playthroughs for further challenges, unlockable outfits, weapons, and speedruns. The Resident Evil remake set a standard for remakes that has yet to be met or broken. Unfortunately, its exclusivity on the GameCube and Wii hurt its sales drastically, as most fans of survival horror tend to flock to other platforms. It became the swan song for an era of an almost extinct platform of gaming, providing one of the most perfect representations of what a survival horror game should be, just before they took a drastic turn towards mass appeal action titles that plague this dying breed today. Hopefully the industry can find a lucrative niche that can support large budget horror games further, but as it stands now, it'll continue to be relegated towards smaller independent titles, or like the zombie, die out altogether. While it isn't for everyone, survival horror purists who still haven't played this game for whatever reason need to, as it's a fantastic recreation of the game that started it all. It's the quintessential Resident Evil experience. Its masterful design, art direction, sound, and reincorporation into the story serve as an endearing tribute to the original, that hopefully current developers can go back and learn from before all AAA titles bleed into the same mindless shooting spree that's so readily available today.
It's magnificent.
Jill, run for that house!
There are only 3 STARS members left now. Captain Wesker, Jill, and myself. We don't know where Barry is.
Chris Redfield. Jill Valentine. Barry Burton. Rebecca Chambers. Albert Wesker. Resident Evil.